Hello and welcome to Rev Sports. Double-header day comes to an end. RCB versus DC. Everyone here said that RCB will win, but guess who ended up winning? It was Delhi Capitals, and I knew it from the start. I just did not say it out loud. David Miller, Killer Miller, had his redemption night as well. On the other hand, CSK continued their streak of losses in away games. So, not a good game for, or not a good night for CSK at all tonight. But before we get to talking about all of these things, I want you all to just look at the time. It's 11:30. Should a 7:30 game end at 11:30 in the night is the question that I'm asking before we even get to cricket, because we had been discussing this for a while. We had been discussing the over. And honestly, I keep thinking about the fans that will have to go home tonight this late in the night. And the stadium is really far away from the city. The public transport, which means the metro, will be shut by this time. On the other hand, cabs, autos, anything else that is available, they will hike their prices so much that someone who has come out for a one-off outing, saved their money for a ticket and things like that, they will find it really, really difficult to justify all these costs. Ashok, your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. I think it's high time that there are stricter enforcements of the time that is taken that has to be put into place. Because in addition to all the points that you mentioned, Gargi, in terms of fans getting delayed, the logistics arrangements, etc., one important aspect that I'd like to call out is that when the broadcaster looks at the time slot for the match, it is actually prime time, and the audience availability tends to drop off towards the latter half of the night. And even a half an hour difference can make a lot of difference to the audience availability, which will then impact the number of viewers, the engagement, and therefore the monetization. And it's a very crucial aspect. There's a lot of back and forth that happens with regard to the start time, and therefore the end time is equally important. I think more important than that, the beauty of a T20 of an IPL match is that it's concentrated excitement built into that 3.5 hours, and the more you stretch it, the more you run the risk of diluting that particular proposition. Right.
Yep. Shorjani, what do you think of CSK at this moment? They're not having a great season. They're having a topsy-turvy season. The question that I asked this morning as well when we were doing the pre-show is that do you think CSK will be able to move away from their home ground and then win the match? Because both of their wins have come at home.
If I have to talk a little about CSK, I would say that a concern for them is maybe their batting. When I talk about batting, I talk about the opening and the middle order. I mean, see, the opener Sanju Samson and Rituraj Gaikwad. Gaikwad, he was not being able. He did not score enough runs today as well. He just scored 19 runs, and I feel Sanju Samson with him, he was back in form. He was scoring runs. He was looking confident. Even today, also when the first over, while he was playing the first three balls that he played, he looked extremely confident, and then he got dismissed. So I think the approach is there from there, but I think the consistency is lacking a little. Ayush Matre, he did his job. He did go out there and he did some power hitting and he did score some runs. I think 30 odd runs if I'm not wrong, and I think that was fine. But I mean, as a unit, as a batting unit, I think the top order has to do better when it comes to CSK. See, bowling wise, if you look, I don't think the bowling right now is a concern because I was really impressed with the way Anshul Kamboj bowled today. Even out there when he was batting, I think that was really commendable. If I'm not wrong, and then I think the last over, they had a free hit. They could have capitalized it, and they missed out on it. I think that is where it is lagging. They're lacking in terms of consistency and in terms of power hitting, if I'm not wrong, because the lower order we expected them to go out there and score some runs. If you look at the scorecard, I mean Ayush Matre and Matt Short, they were the only ones who went out there and tried scoring some runs. And when lower down the order, it was Shivam Dubey. Apart from that, I don't think anybody else had an impact. And it is very important for a particular batter to go out there and step up for the team. And I think that was missing today.
Bharat, before we get to talking about RCB, which is the game where you were at, when we're finally seeing Abhishek Sharma, the old Abhishek Sharma, come to the fore. Of course, this season had been somewhat, other batters had been somewhat shadowed by the fact that Vaibhav Suryavanshi was batting the way that he was. But finally, we see an Abhishek Sharma batting with a strike rate of 268. How good was he tonight?
Yeah, it must have been very good. See, first of all, obviously, I was traveling back to my home at that point of time. But then I saw the scorecard, then I saw the pitch conditions. This pitch was definitely gripping a bit in the second innings. I think it was gripping a bit in the first innings too. Actually, this condition should have helped CSK because it was tailor made for their style of play. But I think the difference was Abhishek Sharma, his knock of strike rate of 260 in these conditions, I think took the game away from CSK because it was quite tailor made for their style of play, for CSK style of play. For some reason, in Hyderabad, we are seeing pitches on the slower side. In those conditions, 195 was always going to be, I think, quite a challenge, and that is how it proved to be. A score of around 175, 180 looked like chaseable in those conditions to me. So yeah, from that perspective, I think he made the telling difference, Abhishek Sharma, and obviously you have to give credit to SRH Pacers right at the end. I thought they landed the Yorkers really well and also used the off cutter. I'm really impressed by what I see of someone like Saqib Hussain. I think he one day will play for India in T20I cricket.
So,
Yes, yeah.
if I could make a point there, I thought that while the point is true that Abhishek Sharma did play that blinder of an innings and took the match away, I was very impressed by the way the bowlers bowled. Of course, Ishan Malinga got in those three wickets. But I thought in the 17th over, the way Saqib Hussain came in and took that wicket, that ball to Shivam Dubey was a gem of a ball. And then for the captain Ishan Kishan to hand over the ball in the 20th over, in the final over to Praful Hinge, in only in his second match, and the way he bowled Yorkers and going wide around the wicket and bowling into the legs of Jamie Overton, I think these youngsters really did a great job.
Adding to that, I think Nitish Kumar Reddy was also impressive. I mean, the way he bowled the second last over, the way he was going out there and bowling, and he was really upset because in the last ball, I think in the last ball there was a chance of a run out, and then he missed it, and he was so upset with himself. So I think the intent was very clear, and the players out there, they were giving in their all.
Absolutely. And Mohor also joins us. There are some comments here. One is alluding to Nitish Kumar Reddy's bowling. Greg is saying, nice to see NKR bowling with pace up, developed as a cricketer. All right. After 2018, freaking awesome is saying CSK haven't chased 190 plus. The record still remains intact. 2018. That's a long time. Can someone fact check this? Because it sounds too bad to be true. You know, you see what I did there? Too good to be true, too bad to be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Fitmonk is saying CSK is forcing me to become a football fan. How can we lose this? Dhoni bhai, please come back. Even if you score zero, it's okay. At least CSK fans will hype about the noise meter.
But Gargiri, having said that, I genuinely feel CSK are missing Dhoni as a mentor. I think it is very important for him to be out there as a mentor because Ruturaj Gaikwad, we have seen him struggling on the field as well. So I think having MSD, okay, I mean he's not in the active international circuit, he's not playing regularly, so you can't expect him to go out and score runs every day because Sanju Samsung is already there. He's doing well enough behind the stumps also. But I think they are missing him as a captain, as a mentor.
Shorjani, I agree. But then again, if we think from a practical standpoint, there will come a time, I think sooner, when Dhoni will not be a part of the team anymore. What will happen to the team? They have to think about the future, right? They can't keep relying on somebody who, obviously, he will retire sooner or later. So I don't know. They look completely all over the place.
Yeah, that's the question, right? That what happens when MS Dhoni finally goes out of that dressing room? Right now, he's in the dressing room. He's not on the field. But look at the kind of problems. Look at the dearth of or the void that the leadership has left. Ashok, what do you think? Is it a leadership problem, or is it just the fact that CSK is not clicking as a unit?
So, I have a slightly different point of view. I don't think, look, first of all, CSK, the team was built on certain values. It was called the Dad's Army. It had experienced players. Stephen Fleming, for the longest time, has been the coach. They've preferred not to unsettle the stalwarts in the team. They had this philosophy of taking the game deep and then, coming and finishing it off with a flourish. the game has moved on. The T20 format has moved on. The T20 format is no more about finishers. It's really about exploding the power play. It's really about giving the youngsters a chance. Bowling pace off is the norm today. Bowling wide, bringing in those variations is what works. We saw Jacob Duffy bowling so beautifully earlier for RCB. So in that situation, what CSK needs to think about is how they're adapting to that with new leadership. And therefore, just the MS Dhoni factor, it would be, I think, fallacious to think that that alone will address the issue. The second point about leadership, Gargi, I think we've seen that leadership is not just one person. We've seen it's always a combination. We've seen, the coach, the entire support system, plus the captain bring together a certain leadership. And I think CSK, is in dire need of that leadership at this point of time.
100%. Okay, let's take more questions. Watching David Miller smiling after winning the game was so pleasing today. He's gone through so many stormy moments. Destiny has been kind. Uh, Bharat, I know that everyone's talking about this as the redemption moment. This as his coming of age. I don't know. It's become a certain poetic moment for David Miller on the internet. But I don't think what happened in the last game or in the Delhi game would have affected him as much as people on the internet are making it seem.
Yeah, I noted it in the pre-show as well that he has so much experience, that he's gone through so much, that he's waded through so many setbacks in his international career. Not just once, not just twice. I've seen it happen quite a few times. Obviously, he has had his share of success as well in the IPL itself. I remember a few of his knocks right back down to 2013 IPL. Then obviously in 2022 IPL in a game against Rajasthan Royals. So he has had his fair share of success, but at the same time he has had many setbacks as well. So he understands how to make a comeback from such situations. And even if you go back that game against Gujarat Titans, it was an instinct to call. Yes, it was a poor call, but still it was an instinct to call. He backed himself to clear the boundary, but it didn't happen. It was a good slow short ball from Prasid as well. So some credit to the bowler there. So I wouldn't really blame Miller as well because it was an instinctive decision in the end. And today, yes, destiny smiled on him. First of all, Ramore Shepherd was bowling. See, in his last 11 or 12 overs, he has given 170 runs at an economy rate of 15. So the destiny also kind of smiled on him, David Miller. He had the perfect bowler to face, someone who would bowl in the slots. And yes, a lot of credit to David Miller for taking advantage of it. Some poor bowling. He's someone, as people always tell, in the arc, out of the park with David Miller. That is what he exactly did. Everything was in the arc from Romero Shepherd, and he smashed it out of the park. So he used his experience, wisdom of experience. He's just gone through so many years, so many setbacks. I don't think one bad game would really matter to him.
Bharat, were you here when freaking awesome dropped a stat? He said that after 2018, CSK haven't chased 190 plus. And he's saying CSK have chased 200 plus totals only thrice in 2012 and 2018. 190 and 190 plus totals have been chased only twice. Wow. Freaking awesome. Is
Yeah.
this a Chepauk only or all venues? Let us know that as well.
Okay.
All right. We have more comments. Vinny's Magic is saying SRH is unable to finish in batting today's match and also Punjab match. Good point here, Ashok. What do you think? Is it the finishing that's the problem that's been keeping them from scoring those signature 200 plus totals that we've seen from Hyderabad?
No doubt about the fact that with the opening that they get, they should be able to get to 200 far more easier. If you look at some of the teams like Rajasthan Royals, look at what RCB has done in the past, or Punjab Kings has done. They make it look effortless. I think the answer lies, and I've been looking at the match yesterday. I looked at the match this earlier today. It's really about one or two partnerships. I think in all this thing about explosive power play and finishing, we forget the criticality of partnerships. I think all it needs is one or two partnerships. And I was talking about it in the context of CSK. In fact, if you look at the scores, in three people I think scored 30 odd, but there was not one single partnership. And I think that is the underlying issue really with SRH as well.
Can I just add a small point to it? See, you also have to look at the conditions. See, even RCB today scored only 175. Afternoon game, the pitch was holding up a little bit after 10 overs. I just watched this game, CSK versus SRH, after 10 overs, of 12 overs, when I came back to home. And I could see that this pitch also was holding up a little bit. This particular track for the CSK versus SRH game. So I think they got a good score, 195 in these conditions was always going to be challenging. Sometimes I think we get carried away with scores of 220, 210. It also depends on the conditions. Actually, these conditions were quite tailor-made for CSK. They would have thought of restricting the opponent to 175, 180. But Abhishek Sharma's, I think, innings was the telling difference. Based on the conditions that I saw after 10 overs, I was surprised that someone scored 58 of 22 balls or whatever in these conditions. I think it must have been a really good innings to play that way in these conditions.
The only difference of opinion there is that ultimately CSK lost by what, 10 runs, right? I mean, the point is that
Yeah,
if you
that's
look
what
at
it
it
is.
at the 13th over, CSK in terms of the run rate was going actually very, very strong. All it needed was one partnership at the fifth or the sixth or the seventh wicket, and they would have scaled 194. To my mind, that number was perhaps just about a par score for this week. For this,
I will just add a point to it. I will just add a small point to it. I think as the ball got older, that is when it started to hold up. Something similar happened with that RCB versus the RCB versus DC game. Of 10 overs, RCB were what, 100 for one with Bill Salt on 63, and then they ended up with 175. As the ball got older, there's a little bit of what I saw was a little bit of old ball swing as well. Maybe the surface was a little bit abrasive as well. So the old ball also was moving around, not just for CSK, but I saw that the old ball was moving around even for the SRH Pacers.
All right, lots more questions coming in. Shorjani, uh, Vinny's Magic seems to believe that Ayush Matre opening for CSK will solve a lot of problems. What are your thoughts?
I mean, definitely, I would personally want Ayush Matre to open, but again, Rituraj Gaikwad being the captain, if you like demote captain down the order, we saw what happened with KKR the other day. I mean, Finn Allen was the one who was dropped in, Tim Sifford was brought in. Although we all believe that Ajinkya Rahane should not be going out there and opening, but as your captain, I think Rituraj Gaikwad is the captain, so I don't think they're going to move him down the order, and I think they are going to back his ability, because when you play with the play position of your own captain, when you interchange it, it gives off a bad impression about the team and your faith in your captain. So I think they will trust Rituraj Gaikwad as an opener. Having said that, I feel that the top order of CSK has been an issue because of the inconsistency. Rituraj Gaikwad has not been scoring. Sanju Samson, he has scored in some matches, he has not scored in some matches. So I think that is a very big issue. On the other hand, I think Ayush Matre is the only one who is keeping the glue together in the top order.
Okay, so the CSK stat is across all venues, total chasing records of CSK. Okay. Dex here is saying Ruturaj is holding CSK back. If Ruturaj drops himself, everyone will bat at their correct position. Mohor, anything like that happening?
Nobody is dropping anybody. He's firstly the captain. Of course, the team will show faith in him. Yes, probably his some of his decisions have not been at par, or maybe he's not been able to perform with the bat. But again, I think the team is going to back him anyway because he's the captain, and I don't see any team dropping their captain mid-season. It doesn't happen, and it will not happen. We don't see that happening in the near future. Having said that, I think it will be a good option. I mean, I don't know if they'll do it, but I think it will be a good option to promote Ayush Matre up the order if he's able to open, because we have seen the way he is batting from the moment he's coming in the power play. Because one of the two batters is, getting dismissed very early on. So he's coming in, he's taking complete control of the innings. So I think it will be a good option to make him open alongside Sanju Samson. And if possible, Ruturaj Gaikwad could bat at number 3. It's not like he has not batted at number 3. He can. So maybe that would fix things, but nobody is getting dropped. That's for sure.
Okay, Praful in the first game and Praful today, sport really humbles you overnight. Hope mentally he is fine. Ashok?
Um, I think there was nothing wrong in the way he played even today. So I'm not sure that comment is really justified. You know, a little while back I talked about the way that for a youngster playing his second match, the way he came in and bowled to Jimmy Overton. You know, wide around the wicket, wide away from the stumps, and then into his legs. That is really maturity, I would say, and also the way he employs the Yorker. I mean, I also talked about how Saqib Hussain, got Shivam Dubey out. I thought that ball was a peach of a ball. So I think both the youngsters. I mean, look, it's their second outing out, and therefore, it's too early to say that. I think both have a lot of promise, and they will only improve from here onwards.
If I have to add something to that, I think it was very brave of him to go out there and even in the last over, after getting hit for so many runs, he bowled a no ball, and the way he made a comeback and the way he controlled the innings, I think that was really brave of him. And really, I mean, his line and length was perfect. And I think defending those runs in the last over when you come in and you've already been hit and your economy rate is high, so that can affect you as a bowler as well. But I
Yeah.
think he really kept his calm and he did a good job.
And also
In
credits
fact,
to Ishan Kishan for trusting him with the last over. That has to be
ab-
mentioned. In
absolutely. In
overall, I
fact,
mean, his captaincy has been brilliant. He's constantly his bowling changes have been really impressive. So kudos to him as well.
In fact, I thought that Shivam Kumar had one more over left, and I thought Ishan Kishan would actually give it to him. So I thought it was a welcome change to give it to Praful. Very brave decision. I agree with you, and I think he carried himself very well.
Absolutely. I'll shoot the final question to Bharat and then we can close the show. His Magic is saying Akash Chopra made a reel today saying a big franchise changing captain mid season. Any news? I don't think so. But if we were to entertain the idea, Bharat, KKR or CSK, either of, I don't think the chances are there for CSK because they've had a topsy turvy tournament, but at least have had two wins. KKR, do you see something like that happening, Bharat? Or maybe an
See, I will
Abhishek
put
Nair
it.
going out.
Yeah, I'll put it in a straightforward manner. I go by what Australians always tell: pick the team and then pick the captain. So as soon as I saw that Rahane was going to be the captain of KKR, I thought maybe in 2025 or 2026, even in 2025, perhaps T20 cricket is not really made for T20 cricket in modern times. So in that sense, I was not sure about Rane as the captain even 1 year ago. I'm not saying it in hindsight. It's not nothing against Rane. He's a class player, a good timer of the ball in his prime. But this format is such that, especially on a flat pitch, even a score of 200, 210, it looks like a modest, kind of modest total. So Rahane at the top of the order is someone who can play shots against fast bowlers. He's a good timer of the ball, but as soon as it is after the power play, when the spinners come into the equation, when the spinners come into play, he kind of struggles. So, in my humble opinion, this is the right time. KKR should look past Rahane, but I can understand other point of view as well. That mid-season, even if you're losing 5 games, 6 games in a row, it doesn't make much sense to just drop your captain. But harsh call has to be taken. I think this is the right time to look past Rane, and also they have to look at their coaching staff, including the person who took all these decisions at the auction table, as to whether they took the right kind of decisions. Because I feel they went wrong somewhere at the auction table itself with some of the resources that they bought.
Uh,
Also, just to add a little bit, Bharat sir, if hypothetically, if Ajinkya Rahane is dropped, then who captains KKR? With all due respect to Rinku Singh, I don't think he is as experienced to take hold of the position that KKR are in. I don't think he's as experienced to handle KKR from this position and lead them to the playoffs or a favorable result. So I don't think it would make a bigger change. So I don't think any of that happening either because you don't have a proper replacement as well as a captain.
But in my humble opinion, you should first pick the team and then pick the captain. So you can try anyone, even if it is a gambling kind of call. You can take that kind of a call. If it's a youngster in that setup who looks like can handle, can become a good leader, then take that decision and see how it goes. Because as I just go back that point, first of all, pick the team and then pick the captain, not the other way around. Obviously, only time I've seen that not happening with the Australian team is when Mark Taylor went 16 Test matches without 100 in 90 from 95 to 97, but they rated his captaincy so high. I think they kept repeating him.
All right,
But Bharat,
Bharat. Yes, sure, Jenny.
no, I just wanted to ask him something else. Since he was there at the ground in the first match, I wanted to ask him if Akshar Patel getting retired out was a blessing in disguise for DC.
Yeah, it was. In hindsight, yes. But at that moment, Akshar Patel was looking in a decent touch. But having said that, obviously David Miller is someone who has finished the games in the past, and he has done it successfully quite a few times. So from that respect, I think it was a blessing in disguise.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Shorjani, Ashok, Bharat, and Mohor. And to everyone who's watching, please join us tomorrow as well. We continue our IPL coverage and lots more coming your way as well. Good night.